I see. Thank you.
Here to
All
help.
right. Linda, can you start by giving us an update on the Delaware County case, like an overview on just the current status of it?
Sure. A couple of weeks ago, I presented a case. The resident had a stroke in February, and his house is unlivable due to damages and some deferred maintenance also. So the family has been meeting, and I've been working with them quite a while. And this week's meeting with the family resulted in the family making the decision to focus on the homeowner's health. And they're going to just not do anything about home repairs at this time. And when the time is right, they will contact contractors. So the request was that we cease our assistance to them, but most appreciative of all that we've done and very conscious of the time that has been spent with them, thankful for that time. And it was really a pleasure to work with them. I feel even though we're not having repairs to the house, I think that all this process, working through this process, brought the family to the realization that they needed to focus on the homeowner's health and not fixing the house at this time. Any questions?
Morning, Linda. No questions, just a comment. When the family is ready to go down the path of reaching out to contractors, please extend our offer to help guide them so that they don't get taken.
I will do that.
That's all I got.
I believe they were also still going to pursue some of the Delaware County resources in due time, the weatherization programs and so forth, like the public programs as well. So, Linda, thanks for your report out on that. I know we're connected with Delaware County and Danielle Corner, so she's in the loop, but we will revisit that if necessary in the future. Any other questions for Linda? All right. In that case, gonna go to the Montgomery and Chester County hotel stays. And Joanna, could you open us with kind of the overview and the summary of activity and so forth?
Sure, no problem. So an update from Montgomery County. We had ended with, as of yesterday, we still had 21 families being hoteled. We had our case review yesterday with all of our provider agencies and got an update on every single one of those clients. We had Julia and Denise both on that call, an opportunity for them to hear some of the cases that would have additional needs at the time of checkout. So out of those 21, almost everyone had determined, or every client had determined where they were going to go today at the time of checkout. There were a few that did not have any options, and that's what I'm going to talk about next. So there were initially two individuals that Lakeisha, who's also on this call, had connected with Julia on prior to yesterday. And there was a commitment to continue hoteling for those two different individuals. I want to say until the 7th of July or maybe the 11th, depending. I don't know if that had been decided yet. So that had already been decided as of yesterday, but those were two families that had been identified as families that were going to need additional assistance beyond today. Additionally, there were three families that we had decided or reported out would essentially be street homeless as of today. Two of those stopped talking to their case managers probably within the last week. But anyone who didn't have somewhere to go today at the time of checkout was instructed to contact our street outreach. And then we would go from there. So these are the three we anticipated contacting street outreach. Again, in the call yesterday with Julia and Denise, it was agreed upon that these three families, if contacting Street Outreach, could be referred to Julia or Denise for an extension at the hotel. Since our meeting yesterday, there have been a few developments. So one of those families has decided they're going to move in with a relative. So they come off the list, which is great. That leaves us with two families that we expect would call Street Outreach this morning and not have anywhere to go after checking out of the hotel. I'm not sure if we've heard from any of those yet. I haven't gotten any updates on that. And then, so we were looking at essentially 5 families initially, down to 4. And then later in the day yesterday was a moving target for us all day long, constant updates and changes. We identified 2 additional families who have a place to move into, have a rental property identified, either have signed the lease or are going to sign the lease today, but are just waiting on first, last, and security. We also have funding for that, so the cost of that's covered. It's just the time to cut the check and get it into the hands of the landlord is creating a bit of a delay for us. And so these are potentially 2 more families that don't have anywhere to go today for a couple of days or a period of time to be identified until they can move into a new property that they're already locked into with a lease. So I know yesterday, kind of the latest update at the end of the day for Julia and Denise was we have these 2 additional families that may today say we need additional hoteling for a couple of days. We're also waiting to hear if the provider agency that we contracted with at the county is able to cover those couple of days, or if they're not able to, do we need to try to identify another resource? All of that said, obviously checkout is this morning, presumably 11. So we're expecting to hear from people, phones to start ringing pretty shortly, but that's the general update as far as how many we ended with, and then the ones we're most concerned about today. Everyone else on the list either decided to stay at the hotel and self-pay, so they have the financial resources to continue hoteling at the county's discounted rate. Several other families found identified places to move into and did move in. A couple of others were going to live with family. And I want to say we were still pursuing Airbnb for one family, I believe, and had gotten that approved already. So it was just a matter of them identifying a property with Airbnb. That's all for me.
Joanna, what's the time? How long do you recover for the 2 families before they can get it?
You're breaking up a little bit, but are you saying how long is the time for the 2 families that have a place to move into?
Yeah, but they need the check cut from the county.
I'm not sure. So it's not the county that's cutting the check. It's the provider agency, and the one person who can do that is away on vacation. Terrible timing with the holiday, obviously. So I don't know. We're hoping to get an answer to that, but I don't know. It's not weeks and weeks. I'm anticipating, if not at the end of next week, then the following Monday, like the first business Monday after the holiday, would be my guess.
Okay.
Stephanie has her hand up too. Yeah.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Stephanie Meyer. I'm newer to this call. I work with Christine and serve as a special assistant here at the department. One of the things I was curious about, so I've heard about the Airbnb interim stays, but I am wondering, I know this doesn't always work with landlords, but I had heard that folks had generously come together to offer some signing incentives to landlords. And I was wondering, some landlords, doesn't work with everybody, but if they do get some sort of like letter on letterhead on hand of saying this amount is coming to you within this time frame, and additionally with a $1,000 signing bonus, sometimes they'll let you in the door early. So I wasn't sure if folks had tried that route already, if they have a firm letter commitment that the dollars are on their way to them.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the suggestion, Stephanie. I think with this specific issue, it's really about the provider agency, the case manager being essentially out of the country right now. That's what it is. The agency would be able to write a letter. I think they're just trying to figure out at the agency level, how do we get someone else to be able to cut a check right away? The case manager is still trying to work the case. So I'm sure they've let the landlord know the funds are coming. It's just this quick turnaround today. So.
And we, as between Denise and I, Luke, just because, and I still really, being completely transparent, really need to spend that Philadelphia Foundation money. So I'm very happy if we, if there's a need for the weekend hotel stays until we can get the check cut for those first and last month's rent or whatever, that they can move in. Happy to cover that for the weekend, unless you want to fight over who gets to cover that, Luke and Denise.
Well, it sounded like she needed more than just a weekend. It sounded like they needed till the next Monday, not just 4th of July. They needed till
Well,
like the
we're
11th.
covering Lakeisha's 2 cases until July 11th, which is would be fine too. We have the funds to do that.
Okay.
But if I need more, Denise already said we can call her, and I'm happy. I will certainly give you a call if we need more too.
Okay.
And Luke, that was worst case scenario. Sorry, just to jump in. Worst case scenario was the following business Monday, which I think is the 11th. Again, we're just really trying to lock this down with the provider agency, and we're having challenges with that. But that's our goal is to figure out, can the provider agency cover the hotel stay until they can get the check cut into the landlord? If they can't, then knowing that we can who to go to for additional hoteling support. Either way, hoteling support is going to be way less expensive than, I think yesterday we had talked about, well, should someone else try to cover the first last security? And no, I don't think that makes sense. That's a larger dollar amount that we have plenty of foundation money to cover. It's just if we need an interim hotel stay that can't be covered by another resource. I think we're waiting to hear on that. So
Hi, Joanne. This is Leslie. Hi, Joanne. This is Leslie.
Hey, Leslie. Good. I didn't know if you had an update. I didn't see you on the call.
Can you clarify that again? The people who, yeah. Can you give me can you repeat what you said in reference to the people who need a few more days in a hotel?
Yeah, I think this is the 2 cases we talked about yesterday. It's Sewell and Delgado, right? Which I believe were Sheila's cases.
Yes, Delgado, yes.
Delgado. So Sheila had said on the call, right, that she thought she anticipated that the check could be cut today into the landlord, and then it sounds like that's not the case, right? Because she's not in the country and she's the only one who can do that. She had also said that maybe OIC would cover the hotel stays needed until the check could be cut to get these 2 families into their properties, but we weren't able to confirm that. So I don't know if that's accurate or not. And I was saying if it's not accurate, then we would have the need for someone to cover that hotel stay until the checks can be cut. So Leslie works for the same agency. Yep, no problem.
So essentially, if there's, there was, when we left the call yesterday, Denise and I were on with the providers, and Joanna and I regrouped. At that time, there were 8 potential families that might need an extended hotel stay. I think it's down to 7, but regardless of what that number is, 2 have, through Lakeisha's work, are squared away, and the other 6 of those 8, or 5 of 7, whichever number we're working with now, may or may not, and we're waiting to just kind of see how things fall, but prepared to cover those for a week at this point if we get referrals from street outreach or the case manager on that through Joanna or whatever means, or directly from case managers. But so this all came about kind of, Christine Heiser had contacted us and let us know this was, Joanna has been talking about this a long time. It's been on our radar, but the urgency with the deadline, then it just makes it urgent when the true deadline is approaching. So a lot of us here on the VOAD were concerned about, are we just prolonging the inevitable by extending it for another week or whatever? But with a number of conversations, we felt like it was worth at least getting some more answers, and that a week could help us buy some more time. Plus, some of the families were making progress, but just needed a little more time, especially since this was becoming more and more of a reality that they were going to be potentially street homeless. So that's why the urgency of putting kind of this Band-Aid on, or offering the Band-Aid for the hotel stays, but we want to also continue working with the case managers. And one of the things is that there's a transition happening now, and no one quite knows exactly when that's happening, whether, to the federal disaster case management program for at least Montgomery County. Will those case managers still be working with the families? Do we need to transition them to other case managers? So those kinds of questions, and the families being in flux, we felt like that was fair to keep folks, so we could regroup next week, some of us with some of the case managers, and dig a little deeper, which, unless there's any questions, I want to go to Lakeisha next. And in the meantime, I'm going to just also note that some of those families are homeowners and some are renters. That maybe, I think that there was at least one homeowner in there. So kind of, can we over the next week, while they're hoteled, figure out, is there something that can be done to make their home livable in the very short term? Or, what are this? You just need to delve a little deeper next week, so we can see what we can do with, and that's why you all are here too. Like, what are some of the things that you could help with that we're not considering or hasn't come to mind, that we may be able to solve some of these problems, which is why Lakeisha is bringing one, maybe two cases, and I send them. We have voting members of this group. That doesn't mean resources can't be solved otherwise, but essentially those voting members help us, especially when we have a collective pool of money, decide how to spend it. We don't have a collective pool. We each have our own funds at this point because we don't have a fiscal sponsor fully dedicated for this yet. But it does. I did send the case presentation to the voting folks, and I'll pull it up in the shared document. But unless anyone wants to say anything before we get started with that, that'll give us an opportunity to look at a specific case and talk through that a little bit. So I'll just, while I'm pulling that up, if anyone has any comments, please share. All right, that being said, Lakeisha, I'm going to pull up the case presentation. I did block out the name on this because we do try to, especially this call with folks who are, anyway, we try to keep the names confidential. And so I'm going to bring that up, and if you can kind of talk us through it, and then like just some of the basic information, and then the narrative is the story piece, the situation is what we'd love to hear from you about. But I'll turn it over to you and just kind of walk us through this.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Just speaking of this particular resident, who is a senior. She was actually residing at Riverside Apartments. I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with that, but it was an apartment complex that was actually destroyed, and it has been condemned and since torn down. It was a place for those who were low income. Many of them had locked in rates. In this particular case, her rent was $500. She had been there for 15 years. So when you come in, that's the rate that you pay as long as that you were there. She had a voucher. Her voucher was for $600. However, it has not been changed. It hasn't been increased. She did go to the housing authority to see if it could be increased, and they denied that, so it's still at $600. She has not been able to find anything within that in that range, of course, as well as the fact that housing has been, it's been a big uptick in pricing and things. Everything is about $1,200 and up. She cannot afford that. She does receive Social Security. Her Social Security is about $600 as well. But it's still not enough for her to maintain. The main thing, our main barriers are that, of course, a lot of landlords are not willing to rent to Section 8, being as though the past history of others who have ruined that for those that are, renting, and they don't want to take them in, as well as she does have, the landlords are also asking for such a big amount to put down, which we can help with. That's not an issue. But moving forward, she's not able to maintain that. So even if we were to put the large amount down, she cannot maintain a rent such as that, and it's not even including her utilities. And then there's a lack of senior housing, of course. We did have a breakthrough with Red Clay. Someone, I can't remember who it was on the call, that shared that with us in Chester County, that would be opening up. I believe she said that it probably would be the end of August or early September when they would begin to take families in. So we've been on that and trying to complete that application as well. But right now she has been picked up. Thank goodness, Julia. Appreciate you. To be in the hotel until the 11th, which is awesome. And so we're just trying to figure that out for her. The goal right now for me is to just see her in a place where even if we did help her with rent, let's say for the next 6 months or so, that she would be comfortable or be able to continue to maintain. So I'm looking more towards senior housing. She is on 4 lists already that are a year out, and we did put those in back in, I believe it was January. So that does take some of that time away. However, in the meanwhile, it's just really strenuous to see her because she has nowhere else to go. Their family's not willing to have her in the home, unfortunately. However, they do give her resources to find places, but their places aren't affordable. So she's just kind of like, when I spoke to her last, I saw her actually Monday, and she shared with me that she would just be street homeless and she would just have to be on the streets. I did ask if that was something, that happened previously to her, of being on the street. She did say yes, but of course that was 15 years ago. So, it's really difficult now that she's a senior as well, and it's very unsafe. So it's just a matter of trying to figure this whole piece out, and I'm open to any ideas and ready to pursue them.
Thank you, Lakeisha. I do want to open up for questions, or can you say? Go ahead, Denise. You go first.
I was just curious if you could. Where is she? What is the area that she wants to reside in?
She's willing to move to any county at this point. She's open to being anywhere, but currently she is at Spring Hill Suites in North, Plymouth Meeting, sorry, here in Montco. But she is willing to move wherever she needs to be. She went as far as filling out an application in Johnstown, so she's willing to go wherever housing is.
What did you say was the development with the Red Clay apartments? That's Jen Manthe from Chester County had shared that with us.
Yes, she did. It was from Chester County. It's Red Clay. She said it's for seniors only, and it is. I think she said there's 15 available spaces, from what she knew at that point, and that it would be opening end of August or early September.
So that could be a candidate for Airbnb. If any idea when for the interim. Any idea when she would hear back, and would that be a reasonable option for her based on
it? It's kind of difficult to say because I'm not sure how long that process is going to be when they actually accept, being as though it's end of August and early September. So that takes us over 30 days, so it could be a possibility. However, I guess if we had something more concrete to say, we definitely can take you on August 15th or something, we could work a little better. But as of right now, we just submitted, so we haven't heard anything back yet.
Christine has a question in the chat. I think it's Christine. She said if she's willing to move to Philly, Brandon Porinchak from HUD suggested folks on the Montco needs list might be more likely to get emergency housing voucher in the city.
Okay. Thanks, Christine. I'll check. So should I contact Brandon? I am familiar with Brandon. Or
I'm not sure who the best contact would be. I don't know if it's a Philly Housing Authority contact. I'm sure Brandon could make that connection, or maybe Michael Horvath, who's on this call from HUD, could make a suggestion.
I would say, if you have a contact for Brandon, reach out to him directly, or I can facilitate that.
Yes, if you could facilitate, because he's out of the office, I think, for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Lakeisha, I know you're out next week too. But you'll connect Megan with whatever needs to be done in the short term? I
Absolutely.
think Megan's on this call.
Yes, she is.
Okay. Other thoughts, comments?
I was just going to say, if Lakeisha's out of the office next week and we do have things come up, who would we connect with
You would
in your
be
place?
Yes, connecting with Megan Kincaid. She's actually on the call. Director Howard.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome, Denise.
Other questions, comments, ideas?
Michael, is your contact information in the chat?
I will drop my email in the chat for you.
Thank you so much.
So Lakeisha, if we got to the point where one of those options, Chester County, Philadelphia voucher, worked out, what would be the ask? Like, what would be needed, and then would she be able to stay sustainable after a period of 4 months, 6 months? What is needed in the short term? Like, would she have that first and last month's rent from the programs that Joanna has mentioned in the past?
Absolutely. So we at CBCA, we still have funding, so we could take care of her moving costs. That wouldn't be an issue.
So what is what would the need then be?
Probably at that point it would be furniture.
But no additional rent?
But no, well, yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. Yes, rent would be additional for her at that point. And that's what I would say, like 6 months. I would hope that, well, I could kind of push with Philadelphia Housing that they would up her voucher. I mean, I don't know if they just transfer the same amount from where she was, but $600 is not going to work in any county, in my thoughts.
Right. And you're aware of the Salvation Army furniture program?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something that we can definitely, when the time is right, that's available. Other questions, comments for Lakeisha? I did see in the chat somebody else, I think Christine, you put something in there. You said, would she be eligible for disability specific properties being over 65? Or does she have a disability? And you asked Gabrielle for any ideas?
So yeah, I see that over 65, she's not eligible for 811. So I'm not sure what other.
Yeah, she does have it.
Yeah, because 811 goes to 62. So
she does also have bipolar disorder. I don't know if that qualifies or not, but there's no. She is in treatment for that. I'm not sure if that would qualify.
Yeah, I don't have anything, but I'm wondering if there isn't. When you said she was willing to move to different places, I did start thinking to myself, like, let me look into if there's any place really that has openings, because it's not just, she's already on the wait list for a lot of places, but where could she actually go? So that's what I'm going to start thinking about and try to find if there's any place in Philly that has openings.
Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify that the ask that you have listed here on the presentation form is $2,400 for it says for 1 year, but that's only an extra $300 a month. What?
I was actually thinking of, and I was just kind of putting together her voucher, as well as her income from Social Security, and I'm thinking an additional $200 maybe per month to add to that. So that's where the 20.
My math, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's no problem.
Okay. So worst case, you're thinking that if nothing else comes available, that with this extra $200 a month, that she would be able to afford a place, but there's not a place currently identified.
No, there isn't.
Or located. Okay.
No.
I have a few questions, and this is one of those areas where, like, I sometimes say I know enough to be dangerous, but not always an expert in all things. When I look at the Montgomery County Housing Authority, like, I'm looking at the small area FMR standards for their voucher holders right now, and it's looking like new lease ups. If we were saying Norristown for a 1 bedroom, they had it closer to like $1,300. So I think I'm a bit confused. So I'm seeing, yeah, 1,332 for a 1-bedroom or 1,164 for an efficiency appears to be the payment standard. So I think I'm a little perplexed where we're hearing that her voucher can only pay for $600. Like, that's not clear to me. Although sometimes my understanding has been that if you are seeking something that is an exception over the FMR, it kind of depends on their local policy and making a case once you have an actual like prospective unit. You can't just like say, generally, I would like more in my voucher, but if you say I have this unit in this zip code, here's the payment standard, is there an exception? So this might be an area where it might be helpful to clarify. And there could be something I'm completely missing here, but just wanted to put it on the radar because that's not adding up to me on face value.
Are you speaking of the rent rate scale?
Yeah, I'm assuming. So yeah. I'm assuming she has a Section 8 housing choice voucher from Montgomery County Housing Authority.
She does. She does.
Okay, got it. Interesting. Okay, because
what happens is now I don't know how it kind of works with that, but usually it's what they qualify for. So she's a she only qualifies for, which we know a 1-bedroom is not that amount. And yes, you're right, the rent rate is higher. Hers is $600. The other gentleman that I'm going to talk about, his is $970, and they're not budging. I don't know why. That's what they were approved for.
All right. I will link what I'm finding. It's in case it's helpful for advocacy, because it looks like new lease up standards are far higher. And like, we're all very well aware, you know, HUD determines their policies in a certain way, but the reality is like the rental market is like nothing we've ever seen right now. It's really just gone wild.
Yes, it has. I do agree.
Yeah.
Stephanie, I think I agree with you 100%. And so what has happened is that $600 that they have, that was based on their income. So the $600 voucher back to when it was lower, like that to me is maybe like a $900. Then they're saying that that person can pay $300 and the voucher is for $600. But the apartments in Montgomery County, 1-bedroom efficiency, have gone up to that. They were back down at $900. So that's where the discrepancy is. The vouchers are still down there, but the cost for a 1-bedroom or efficiency has doubled because of just inflation with what's ever going on in the market now, and they haven't caught up. And so now you've got a person with $600 voucher could only pay $300. Now they've got to come up with $600 more, and it just can't be done. So that's what's going on. But initially, that $600 was based on what they could pay for a 1-bedroom, and 1-bedrooms were going for $1,000 or for $900 back.
Got it. Okay, and I see Christine noted a question in the chat about wondering if it was Social Security retirement versus like SSI or SSD.
Yes, hers is actually disability.
Okay.
So I would go ahead and say that solidifies that, yes, this is a person with a disability, which could potentially open up some of those 811 properties or maybe other disability specific resources.
And the other piece I note, if she receives about $600 in disability, every once in a while you encounter the clients where like they did not know that they could go back to the Social Security Administration and say, okay, my disability only gives me this much, but I can request SSI to get me to that SSI threshold. It's closer to like $790 a month. I know it's not a huge amount, but just every once in a while we encounter clients where they have one and they missed a step somehow and didn't know to circle back with Social Security to try and request. I'm wondering if she has an overpayment or something that she's paying down on, but just putting it on the radar if that can help increase her income.
That sounds helpful. Thank you, Stephanie.
Sure, I'll put a note about that in the chat.
No, but it kind of makes sense. I agree with you. So I'll go back there with that one too.
Gabrielle put in the chat about not being eligible for 811 because she's over 62, but it did sound like you two are making some connections. There are some possibilities to explore. Sina, anything else coming to your radar that we're missing on the disability side?
No, I connected Sheila with the self-determination housing program to help to provide their expertise. I think everyone is pretty much covering all the bases, and the voucher. I hope that the voucher is increased if she goes to another county. I'm glad that she's willing to relocate, and I'm just hoping something comes out of that.
Go ahead, Sheila.
Tina, if you're speaking about Miss Sewell, we did come upon a property in Amityville that they had some vacancies, immediate vacancies, and so we're putting in an application there. And the process should take, because they're rushing it, should take more than a week. And that's based on your income. We're not basing it on her voucher, because the Montgomery County Housing has closed her voucher. For what reason, I don't know, but they're looking into reopening her voucher because they were fully aware that she was in the hotel housing program. And I guess the caseworker just went ahead and closed her voucher because they hadn't heard. Well, it wasn't because they hadn't heard from us. It was because they didn't reach back to us, because we've been calling them ever since the hurricane situation. So right now she has no voucher. So it would be based on that $800 that she gets a month. And so whatever the cost would be, $200, $300 a month that she would have to pay. That's how that's based. And I did get that from some of the resources that you have sent out to me and the state sent to me. So thank you for that.
I was wondering if you've been in contact with the Area Agency on Aging about this individual, and if she was willing to explore any shared housing options. Maybe they would know someone else she could connect with, and maybe together they could afford a place, if she was open to that.
I was definitely involved with the adult aging, and we have had her assessed medically, and her doctor has assessed her, and adult aging, and she is assessed for a nursing home. And we are trying to find her. We thought we had one. The person went on vacation or something. So we are trying to find her a bed. And once they go in for rehab, their main emphasis would be to rehab her to the place that this is as far as she can go, and then find suitable housing at that point. So that was an option, and we were very happy to get that. So that's what she's waiting for now, bed in a nursing home.
I think we're talking about two different people here. So I just want to.
Okay, I'm talking about Sewell.
Can we not use names on this call? If we can use initials,
I'm sorry.
that would be
sorry.
great.
I understand, Julian. I agree 100%.
All good. But if we can go back to Lakeisha, can you give us the initials for that? AD, I believe it is Lakeisha.
Yes, it is.
So
AD.
just let's stick. I mean, and I think all of this conversation is relevant to other cases too, Sheila. So please ask questions. But I just want to be clear who we're talking about. When you asked that question, Christine, who were you asking it? I mean, it's relevant.
I'm talking about Lakeisha's case. I didn't know we were talking about another case.
I think it came into it just
Okay.
got, there's some stuff that came up that I just wanted to track here, and I think just Lakeisha, can you answer the question about Area Agency on Aging?
Yeah, so I can look into that. I actually have never actually heard of that, but I'm glad you brought it up, Christine. And I will definitely check into that in shared housing. I'll also ask AD, if that's something that's an option that she could look into.
Thanks. And I just want to make one brief comment about Sheila's case, in that I would suggest working with a partner from the Center for Independent Living. They have experience in nursing home diversion. If people are able and willing and want to live independently in the community instead of checking into a nursing home, they have a lot of experience in connecting them with other supports to enable them to live as independently in the community as they want to. So I know Sina could probably introduce you with folks there if you need that contact, Sheila. So I just wanted to make that one comment on the other case while the time was right. Don't want to derail from the discussion about AD. So thanks.
No, that's great too, Christine, because I'm writing down what you're saying about the Center for Independent Living for her as well. I don't know if she qualifies, but it's all great resources.
And yeah, I'll definitely have to connect you, because the one in the Southeast, their center in the Southeast had closed temporarily. And so other centers are taking over those calls. So I will need to work with you to help make that connection.
I think I have a connection for that. I just have to look through my notes, and I'm in the car right now. So I did recently speak to someone who was covering Chester County, and for that. So I mean, and I'll look through my notes and see if I can share that information as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, I believe Lehigh, maybe Lehigh.
All right, so, Stephanie, thank you. I'm looking at your chat comment now. So your suggestion there is, I'm just trying, can you say more, Stephanie, just to summarize your suggestion?
Yeah, and so I think the individual, I think the last initial was D, the first case we were discussing. I'd heard that the monthly income was around $600 a month, and she has Social Security disability. I know that the federal standard for SSI, the supplemental security income, is $841. So if someone's getting disability, it's based on their past work record, but maybe their past work record, they only qualified for $400 a month or $600 a month, but then they can ask the Social Security Administration to give them the SSI to bring them up to that minimum standard. So the standard's $841. So anytime I hear that someone's receiving less than $841 a month in Social Security income, I'm always asking if they're eligible to get that SSI or if they need to circle back. Sometimes it's an overpayment or something else is going on, like a step got missed. It's very rare, but if occasionally you find someone's like paying on their Medicare and they shouldn't be. So just anytime basically for me for that flag, it comes up. The other quick question I had, and I apologize, I have to head to another meeting in a couple of minutes. Have folks by any chance inquired with Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency if there's any chance if they could do a little bit of outreach with some of the communities that they work with to see if there are any properties with immediate vacancy for 62 plus? I was wondering if that had happened already, and if not, I may have someone I can ask over there.
I invited Clay to this call. I don't know if he was able to send anyone else. Is there anyone else from PHFA on today? But we can ask about that immediate vacancies for 62 plus for sure. Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. If anything else comes up, by all means, if I can be helpful, please feel free to email. And Christine knows how to reach me, and I rely on reaching her a lot. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Stephanie. You've been very helpful.
I try.
So I think we're gonna, I mean, Lakeisha's been taking notes, I see, on those resources. Allie's and I are gonna go over the notes and kind of try to just make sure we have all those points of contact, but please glean, Lakeisha and Megan, what you need from the chat and the conversation, and we'll distill that. But kind of want to get to, I think, talk to Lakeisha and worked on having one case to present, at least as a very, it brought out a lot of resources and ideas. So hopefully that will be helpful to beyond just Lakeisha and her, this one case, because she's working with another gentleman now too, who's similar circumstances. But just want to, I guess, close the loop on this. And I'm looking for my VOAD partners for experience in this, because this is kind of new to us as far as supporting rent for a period of time. But as far as like, if if any of us wants to make a commitment, would this be a time to say, we're going to commit whatever you asked for, $2,400 over the next year to this case or something? Brian, you want to weigh in on this? Have you seen this? Like, you worked a lot in Sandy.
Yeah. So, it is the time to do that, and you can pick apart the request however the UNR wants to do that. If it's one line item or all three line items or some combination thereof, depending on who wants to provide the funding or multiple who's. We can certainly make a motion to make a financial commitment. I think the question really becomes where is the where is the survivor going to reside, and where is that funding going to go to, right? Because typically the VOAD agencies providing the funding, or any of the funders at the UNR, are going to pay directly to the provider and not to the survivor. So that would be that's my guidance, my 2 cents worth.
And just let me clarify, the assistance with move-in costs, that's the first and last months, is that rent? Is that correct or no?
It's first, last, and security.
So that is taken, that's in my mind not a need because there's funding for that. Is that correct?
Yes. So I can actually eliminate that one. Yeah, and some places are asking for 2 months security, which is really weird. They're asking for a lot of things, but we'll be fine with that. So that one can be taken off.
Luke, do you want to comment on the furniture piece, like how you want to? Do you want to commit to that, or how do you?
Yeah, we could cover the furniture cost, no problem.
So in this form, there's a place for commitment. So that's where we'll complete this later. I mean, Lakeisha already has Liberty in there, and that's for the hotel stays. We'll put furniture down there from the Salvation Army, and then I'm happy to commit for the $2,400, or up to $2,400 in rental. That rental component.
So we're taking off the 3,500 for move-in costs?
That is correct.
Okay. So is the time to make a motion, Julia?
Go for it. This is kind of we do this all regularly, but mostly for homeowners. So please, thank you for bearing with us all, and Brian, thank you for taking the leap on this.
Yeah. So, well, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Brian Baer. I'm the founder and executive director of the Elevated Studio. I'll leave it at that for the time being. I would like to make a motion for the Pennsylvania VOAD UNR to provide $3,400 in funding and furniture assistance for case AD.
And go ahead. Are you done?
Yeah, I think I'm done.
Can we note which agent? I want to know which agencies it's coming from.
Oh, okay. All right. The furniture assistance coming from the Salvation Army of Greater Philadelphia and Delaware, and rental assistance funding from Liberty Lutheran. Period.
Do we need to add like a time component in there, or like through coordination with case management from CVCA, or don't we need to do that?
I don't think we need to do that because Lakeisha is the case manager. So it's kind of through osmosis that it's done that way. Sorry, Luke. Eastern PA in Delaware.
Is this motion contingent on other options not working? I mean, there was a whole host of things that were discussed.
How about we say, so it was 1,000 in furniture, and then up to $2,400.
Or are you just going to move forward with it?
No, I think your point's well taken. Up to $2,400 in funding over the course of a year. Contingent on options discussed today. Contingent on first exploring other options discussed on today's UNR meeting. Something like that, including Area Agency on Aging, CIL, etc. Philadelphia vouchers, because there still is going to be a gap, I think, even after those.
Mm-hmm.
But does that make sense to add some of that language in there? I'm sharing what I'm writing here, if you can see.
Yeah.
I agree. I will second that motion.
Any discussion? So the voting members are the Elevated Studio, Methodists, UCC, Lutherans, and who did I miss?
Salvation Army.
The Salvation Army. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So you can let AD know that that has been approved. And we will work with you on the details and coordinating to the provider.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And I know you have another, like we have other cases. I guess I just want to pause for a moment. So this is the first case for like this that we've as I've mentioned, that we've gone through. I'm going to stop sharing. Just want to talk about, like, so you have another case that's similar, and that $2,400 that was there, you know, that's also like if that's needed for Airbnb, or just like it's up to that $2,400 for whatever that need is for housing assistance. Anybody, like Brian, anybody else want to comment on this process before we start hearing more cases and so forth? Anything we're missing when we bring these cases to the table? Because there could be, Lakeisha sent me another one this morning. I don't know if we're going to have time to get to it or not. And I didn't get to share it with everybody, so that's why I'm hesitant to bring it in front of you all.
I don't know what to add other than, you know, making sure that whomever is presenting the case, that the table has as much information as possible. And granted, you know, when someone loses their home, that information might not necessarily be readily available because it may have been underwater or thrown out or blown away or what have you. So the stories are important. And the fact that we're recording the meeting helps, because we could always go back and refer to a case presentation that this is what was said, this is how we went about doing it. The challenge with renters is the direct service that you all provide, and where is the funding going to go? Is it going to go to, you know, another agency that provides appropriate housing for the individual, or is it going to go into, you know, John and Jane Doe's basement apartment, or is it going to go to, you know, a much larger entity like a Toll Brothers, as an example, that is a large multinational rental agency, you know? So I think having that background story is important.
Thank you, Brian. Go ahead,
Yep.
Denise.
I just have a question for Lakeisha. Are you going to continue case management until they are permanently housed?
From my understanding, that we are going to provide case management until the 31st of this month. However, we are also looking into being picked up with St. Vincent's. So once we hear something from there, then we will definitely be in there for case management.
Thank you, Lakeisha. And we do want to, I mean, we have Allie with us now as a case manager. Between Denise and I, Linda and Alan are working. So if there's a need to pick things up in the meantime, I mean, or however we need to make sure, we just, I think collectively don't want to lose track of people. so we will continue to discuss. So the only two we know at this moment, unless you've heard anything else, Joanna, in the meantime, is that there's two families that are still in hotels. In the last hour, Joanna, have you heard anything otherwise?
Yes. I just got an update, so I'm glad I checked my email before. So this is one of the families that I had mentioned. It's one of the families that was highlighted in yellow yesterday. Initials are also AD, so not to confuse with a different AD.
Say 82.
Yeah, 82. But someone that I mentioned earlier on this call, the issue with the check, right? Like cutting first, last, and security. So it appears that that person's housing fell through because the deposit issue, because no one was able to cut a check today. So their housing fell through and they're no longer able to move into that property. It is someone who will be street homeless and they have a 5-year-old child with them.
So is there still an opportunity? I know you just got the email, so you probably don't know. But if another agency provides a check today, is this still a possibility, or is it just done and it's not available anymore?
It sounds like it's not available anymore. I'm quickly reading because there have been quite a few updates. Yeah, what I'm understanding is that housing is not an option anymore, even if someone were able to cut a check today. And so it sounds like they really this family would be slotted into or added to the 3 that we anticipated would call street outreach. This person has called street outreach already this morning.
So you just said they did call street outreach?
Yeah. And because they weren't on our initial list that we provided to street outreach, they didn't make that referral over to you or Julia. But I would advocate, especially with the child, right? I know that was one of the biggest concerns. I would advocate for them being considered for an extension.
Okay, and just to be clear, because I am in the car right now, this is the family with children who had lost connection with who had not been communicating with their case manager.
Nope. No, this isn't one of the 3 that we expected to call.
Because this one had housing lined up, but it fell through. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Because the check couldn't be cut in time.
And how many children?
This is one 5-year-old. That's it.
Okay. And what is the locale for this?
I'm not sure. Give me a second to look that up, Denise.
Sure. And also, how many bedrooms are needed for this?
If it's the one I think you're talking about, she has 1 child, and she needs a 2-bedroom. And
Thanks, Leslie.
And it fell through in Pottstown.
Do you want a connection with the DHS Office of Children, Youth, and Families? I don't know if that would be helpful or what support they could provide, but they would be the experts in that area.
Who's the case manager on that one? I guess that's who needs a connection.
Hi, I think it's Leslie is the case manager on that, and I was just giving the information on the AD that a resource is going to pay for her hotel stay until the 6th, so giving us enough time to continue to. A resource is going to pay for the hoteling until the 6th of July.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sheila.
I was just given that information.
So your agency will pay for hoteling till the 6th?
No, another resource that we found. So they're going to pay for the hoteling until the 6th for the family to keep them out of the 211 state.
Do you know? I just want to make sure we're not crossing hairs here. Do you know who the agency is?
I'm not sure who the agency or who she represents, but it was someone that we were working with. Our other case manager just gave me that information on the phone, so I could, definitely check with agency.
Just confirm it. I just want to make sure it's not anyone from VOAD. We're not assuming that it's someone on this call already, right? It's someone different.
Yeah, so I think I'm looking at the call right now. It is someone different.
Okay, great.
Okay, so, but it's just a stay. It's not 6 days. So they're
Sure.
not in the street. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Understood.
Do we, maybe I missed it. What is the value of the deposit check?
The deposit check would be, they would cover the hotel stay that they're in. And I'm under the impression that for those that are remaining in the hotel, that would be Hampton Inn, that would be 119 and some change a night till July 6th. So they're going to cover that for them. And I guess we will, on the 5th of July, begin work again with them, trying to find some type of place or 2-bedroom that they can move into.
My phone cut out. Can someone please tell me what, the location again of this family?
Pottstown.
Thank you.
So Denise, I mean, they're covered with the hotel stay, but I know you are working with a pastor in Pottstown too. Can you connect offline with the Sheila and I'm sorry, who was the other person who was the case manager?
Leslie Dean.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, Brian.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Brian, I just want to clarify, she's in Norristown. The apartment fell through in Pottstown.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Did you get that, Denise?
Thank you, Leslie.
Leslie and Sheila, would you like a connection with the Regional Office of Children, Youth, and Families, the PADHS office? I don't know if they could be of use, but happy to find a connection. If you'd like
I don't think it'll hurt. Yes.
Okay.
So then the other one we know about is Lakeisha's other case that you were working on. And I don't know if we connect with Megan next week on that as far as when you're away, or if there's anything you want to bring up as far as just general. I know we didn't do a full case presentation, but is there anything that's
I can give a general background, and then of course Meg, I'll fill her in when she actually presents. But this gentleman, he's not a senior. He is actually 46 years old. So he was also at the same complex, Riverside. He does have a voucher. His voucher is for $970. He does have income. He gets Social Security. His disability. His Social Security is for $800. So with him, it's not so much of the payment. It's his barrier is this: no one's willing to rent with the same situation, the Section 8. No one wants to rent for Section 8. And then he has a tendency when there is a prospective apartment to call the landlord several times. That's a part of his behavioral health. To say, can he come today? If they say the apartment is ready, let's say on the 1st, he'll call every day to say, can he come in, which makes property managers as well as landlords to say, well, I don't want to be bothered with this because it could be an ongoing issue. He's currently connected with Central Behavioral Health. He has made appointments. He did miss his last appointment, but he's been to all of his appointments thus far. And it just, the main thing is that, it's more of that part of him. So I'm working on that with his CTI worker and just, trying to remind him of that. But the biggest barrier is that the renting is not there for Section 8, as well as then when he does find something, it's not self-sabotage, but it happens. So that's the biggest piece. So he wouldn't be able to afford without his voucher. Let's put it that way. Although he gets the 800, it's still not enough. So and of course Meg will show it to you guys next week. I did put in if he could have continuing assistance for 1 year as well, and furniture, same as AD. If he was to rent independently from the voucher itself.
Go ahead. Sina has a question. Thank you, Lakeisha.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I was just wondering, as far as the behavioral health concerns with the landlords, has there ever been considered an advocate to help with like mediation or anything to support that, moving forward, to help alleviate any concerns on the landlord side of it?
Absolutely. So we have actually, myself personally, I've been doing that, as well as he's connected with a CTI worker at Central Behavioral Health who does that as well. So whenever he's speaking with, well, not whenever, but when we initially speak with the landlords, as well as, moving forward, we always are there with him. However, he will call on his own and things like that in contact. That's where the problem comes in at. And this could be 2 o'clock in the morning. This could be, and these times we're not with him. So that's where that piece comes in at.
Was there ever a discussion on a plan to like address that like 2 a.m. call, like and okay.
Yes, we've spoken
Like
to
some
him
sort of
several.
Right.
Right. Yeah, we have. I know what you're saying. No, we have spoken to several times. I just had a conversation with him actually today again about that. Just
Yeah.
knowing, that it's coming, and and then I'll tell him, when you're feeling that way, call the CTI worker, call me, leave us a message about it. How about how anxious you are, and we've done that, but it does.
Okay, good.
It just But we've been trying, definitely trying with
Okay.
him, because he actually has great credit. And things like that. So there's no barrier as far as like a criminal history or anything like that. It's just that piece of him, which feels like. Yeah.
Thank you for what you've been doing with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other suggestions for Lakeisha on that? I saw some in the
I am hoping that this incentive will help landlords as well, to kind of be a little more receptive to taking him in.
So he's extended through next week. I don't know, Megan, if you and I and anybody else who wants to, I guess some of the questions I have are what are our next steps, especially for the urgent cases in the next week who are still in hotels and could be street homeless just a week from now, which we don't want to see. So if we can figure out, what's our next step for kind of continuing to pursue any of these things over the next week, what would be the best plan of action there? Do we regroup by email? Do we try to have a check-in on Wednesday?
I'm open to email. I'm also open to a check-in. So.
Thanks, Megan.
Sure.
Denise asked, is he over 65 and where is he located?
No, he's actually 46. He's not over 65. He's located in Plymouth Meeting at Spring Hill Suites as well, here in Montco. He is willing to go to Delaware County or Chester County, but not Philadelphia. I know that seems picky, but he doesn't want to go there.
Lakeisha, does he have initials that we can refer to this gentleman?
Absolutely. VR.
Thank you.
Sure.
Lakeisha, if I know you did the case presentation up, I just had some issue opening it on my computer. Can you resend that or try to resend it or something?
I will.
Can share it. And if we need to have, an emergency conversation with a unmet needs roundtable, even by email, we can do that later next week as we kind of just figure out what's going on. But I don't know, you need time to even get anything. Denise says thumbs up on that. But Megan, I'd say maybe later in the day, Wednesday or Thursday morning to regroup, because no one's gonna have time to get a whole lot done, I don't think, between now and Tuesday. So maybe we can plan that now for anybody who wants to touch base on any of this. I'm just gonna look real quick just to propose something. But the 6th, that's not, how about Thursday morning? Unless Brian, you think we should meet at our 2:30 call.
I was just going to suggest that we invite Megan and Lakeisha to our 2:30 Wednesday.
I know Lakeisha's out, but Megan, yeah, or any
Or
other
Megan,
case
yeah,
managers
or
who
any
can
other
talk
case
about
manager.
the urgent
Yeah.
cases.
Uh-huh.
Would that work for you, Megan? Wednesday at 2:30?
Yeah, 2:30 works for me.
So we can regroup on just any updates on that, and also if there's anything that develops with that other case, Sheila and Leslie, you should include them to see if there's any urgency needed around the Pottstown / 82.
Did you see my?
Just to clarify, we're meeting again Wednesday at 2:30.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
And I put an update in the chat about its access services that's covering the hotel stay for 82.
Oh, great.
Until the 7th. And that's because they weren't on the list we provided for VOAD approved families. So Access went ahead and did that.
Okay. And if we need to, extend further or whatever, I can touch base with them if that would be helpful. All right, so action steps are, we've made the motion, or, just a summary to date. We made the motion with AD to move ahead with that case. Everybody's squared away for this weekend at least. For anybody who's in hotels and in danger of imminent homelessness within the week after that, we'll regroup on Wednesday at 2:30. A number of resources came to the table that we'll try to document and get to you sometime next week, but hopefully people are taking notes, or I can at least copy the chat and send it in the meantime. Maybe I'll do that. Anything else on the urgent cases for hoteling ending before we move on that we haven't discussed? The only other thing I have for this meeting, unless we have anyone else wants to bring anything up, I was going to ask Julia Pedrosa if she's still on, if we have any update on the data request from FEMA, or Judith.
Hi, this is Julia. I don't have any updates on the data request. I know that I received some messages from Craig asking for confirmation on some emails. So I know that Carl had like a Comcast email and someone else had an email, I believe it was Project Restoration, that didn't have their name. And I think it's more for sharing that data. So we're discussing, ways to do that, but no updates besides that. So we're just working on that email piece. I've reached out to Carl, and I believe it was Denise.
Yeah, so that email is my personal work email. However,
okay.
I do have, if it's better, I do have one that is dshelton@epaumc.church. So I can provide you if that makes someone feel better.
So is that, because I did have that email actually, but I wasn't sure. So is it a functional email? Like if someone emails it, is it gonna go to like an inbox?
Yeah, I actually have like 3 emails for work for different things. And so it would definitely work. I check them all daily.
Okay, perfect. So I already had that one. I just wasn't sure. So I'm just gonna tell them that one is a valid email and they can just use that one instead.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, of course. And then also I did want to say, and I see that I think that Judith is also here on the line. So unfortunately, Judith is going to be released from this operation. It's rolling back to the regional VAL. So Janet Strickland, she's also a FEMA VAL with Region 3. She works in the West Virginia area, but she's very knowledgeable, very passionate about case management, duplication of benefits and all that. So Judith, Janet and I are going to be working together on that moving forward. So Judith's last day is today, unfortunately, but I just want to say, thank you for everything that she's done for the region. Really appreciated her support. And then moving forward, like I said, Janet and I are still going to figure out the details on who's going to do what. But feel free to email me. I'll put my email here again as a point of contact moving forward. So if you have any duplication of benefits requests, just send them my way instead.
All righty. Thank you, Julia. It's been a pleasure working with you all. I'm going to take a week's vacation and then probably on to another disaster. So thank you so much for being so kind to me. And I liked working in Pennsylvania, and I'm not wishing you another disaster. So I'm not wishing to come back. But if I were to come back, it would be a wonderful experience. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Judith. We appreciate our Vals for sure. And have a great vacation too. Anything else for the good of the group before we conclude for today?
I just
Thank
wanted
you,
to
Julie.
thank you all. I thank you so much for all, just everybody, and your suggestions, the helping out of AD, and looking forward to helping out with VR. Just thank you, and have a great holiday.
And I agree 100%, Lakeisha. This has been very informative, and I think this process is definitely going to work and help us with these last few people that we're dealing with. Thank you so much.
Well, and thank you both and all the case managers, because we know that you had a much larger list that you have been working from over the last almost year. So thank you so much. I told anybody who comes in to work on board with us that it's hard work, but we have so many amazing people. So awesome to work with all of you. All right, with that, we will conclude. Allie, I'll give you a call soon just to regroup on notes. And we'll send out the chat in the meantime, just so you have the resources in the meantime. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great holiday.